What's up, guys? Carolina Jackpot checking in. It is Thursday evening here at the house, Simpsonville, South Carolina. I've got my part 2 of the week number 5 picks and predictions against the spread for the week of 9/30/2017. A little bit late getting this out. I believe yesterday's video got cut short after we talked about the Georgia-Tennessee game, where I look for Tennessee to cover the spread against Georgia. I think that these players are going to man up. They're going to fight for Butch Jones's job. They're going to kind of circle the wagons, if you will. And if they don't win, I fully expect this game to be much closer than everyone anticipates. Everyone's just writing them off, and I'm not ready to write them off just yet. You know, they had a lackluster performance against UMass. It happens, but we'll see if they can rebound from that. Iowa's at Michigan State. They're a 3.5-point underdog at Michigan State. I really don't understand this at all. Iowa played very well and almost beat number 4, I think they are this week, Penn State, at home. So I don't get that at all. Michigan State's last performance, they didn't look great against Notre Dame. They lost at home by, I think it was 36-18. Their 2 wins have been against high school teams, so I don't get that. I think Iowa's is tough. The physical at quarterback is very good, and I think they're going to get the win in East Lansing, Michigan this Saturday. If I had one that I could make a lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels pick today, I would make it this one, but since it didn't work out well last week, I'm not going to do a lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels this week. But Troy is at LSU. They're 21-point underdogs. I look for the Trojans to cover that spread. I think the Dice Kid is not going to be playing this week for LSU. That's going to make all the difference. This year's Troy team is not as tough as some of the editions of Troy have been in the past. However, they still play some pretty good football. They went out to Boise State, played a close game, and ultimately dropped that one. I don't know if Boise State's all that we thought they were going to be either. If they got manhandled last week, smacked around a little bit by Virginia. But I'm still going to look for the Troy Trojans to cover the spread against LSU. They're not going to win in Baton Rouge, but they'll keep it close. Ohio State is at Rutgers. They're a 29.5-point favorite over Rutgers. I'm going to look for Rutgers to cover the spread here. Last week, I went with the Buckeyes to cover against UNLV. They didn't do it at home. I don't think that they're quite as good as everyone thinks they are. They've kind of beat up on some lackluster competition, and Rutgers, I think, is a little bit better than people give them credit for. They played Nebraska tough. They played Washington tough at home to open the year up, and they're tough in that stadium. You know, they haven't been that competitive in the past few years, but I like them. They've got a defensive back, one of their better players that's going to be out for this game, so it'll be interesting. But let's face it, that Ohio State offense is, it's kind of suspect at times. Rutgers covers the spread. They're not going to win, but they'll cover it. Look for Ohio State to win by about 3 touchdowns. This one's hard for me to talk about. No, not really. South Carolina at Texas A&M. A&M is 9-point favorites in this one. I'm going to call for the Aggies to cover the spread. I just don't like the way that Carolina's program is headed right now. You know, we lost a good player. We lost Deebo Samuel, a really good player, best player on the team. Thing is, though, you got to be able to bounce back from that. You got to be able to bounce back from it, and we're just not. I mean, losing one player has crippled the whole team. A few years ago, Marcus Lattimore went down with a knee injury 2 years in a row, 2011 and 2012. I don't think after Lat went down with those injuries and was lost for the season both years, I don't think we lost another game either year. Well, maybe we did in 2012. We may have lost the Florida game, but you get what I'm saying. We didn't have to have him to win games, though it was great to have him there to begin with. Clemson 2 years ago, Mike Williams, first series of the season against Wofford, he ran square into a goalpost, broke his neck. He was out for the year. What happened? They went and competed in a national championship game. Okay, losing one player should not should not define your season like that. And if it does, then you got depth issues and you got talent issues, and that's what we got going on right now. Our offense is having trouble finding an identity. I don't like some of the play calling. A lot of the fans don't. But I think Kurt Roper's doing what he thinks fits the personnel best. I just don't think he's that good of an offensive coordinator. I think he's doing the best job that he can do. But it's not going to be enough. Texas A&M is not that good. That defense is pathetic. But the fact of the matter is, at Carolina right now, I don't think we have the resources. And I don't think that quite frankly, the past couple weeks that we've shown the drive to be able to take advantage of playing against a defense that's absolutely atrocious. We'll probably make them look pretty decent. I expect A&M to win this game by about 20 points. Moving on, the big one. Clemson is at Virginia Tech. They are a 7-point underdog at home against the Tigers. Look at all these teams that are on these great runs. I can't deny the fact that Clemson's played great football, especially the past 3 years. I mean, they've been virtually unstoppable. But everybody runs into a buzzsaw every now and again. And I think that's going to happen on Saturday night at Virginia Tech. I know that Fuente is going to have this team ready for this game. It's probably the biggest game they've had in Lane Stadium in 10 years. That place is going to be rocking everybody. They love their football up there, and that's just a hell of an atmosphere for a college football game. And I think that for once, I think Clemson might be a little bit intimidated by that. They're not. It's not a big stadium by any means. One of the small, I think like a 65,000 seat stadium, but it is loud. They virtually sit on top of each other. The way that stadium is laid out, it's loud in there, and they can really cause an opposing team real problems, especially on third down. Bud Foster, he'll have a package designed to stop Clemson, and it will key on Kelly Bryant. He's still a young quarterback, and I don't think that he's going to show quite the poise that he has in these home wins against an Auburn team that hasn't shown me a lot. And last week's performance was pretty flat against Boston College. I mean, they ultimately did win because of the fact they're just more talented. But that being said, Clemson's defense, that's another key thing too. I mean, Virginia Tech's they're not going to run against them, so they'll have to rely on the Josh Jackson to Cam Phillips connection. See if they can put some points on the board. Ultimately, I think Virginia Tech's going to cover the spread here. I don't know that they're going to win. It could come down to special teams. Clemson has a place kicker who will be starting his second game of the year at Virginia Tech. And, man, if he had to line up to kick the game winner, that could be a very intimidating thing to have to do. So look for Virginia Tech to cover the spread, like I say, and it would not surprise me at all if they win the game. Marshall is at Cincinnati. Go with the Bearcats to cover the spread in that one. Home team, Marshall, not that good. Cincinnati's played decent. They played a decent game against Michigan earlier in the year. Not that bad of a team, and that's kind of a tough environment to play in when the place is full. I don't think it's gonna be full for this game, but in the past it has been. I mean, Cincinnati went to the Orange Bowl. Wasn't the Orange Bowl they went to a few years? A Fiesta Bowl? I don't remember. They were good a few years ago. That quarterback, God, I can't remember what his name was. Jeez. I can't remember. He had a funky last name, but anyway, tough place to play, and I don't think Marshall will cover the spread there. Oklahoma State at Texas Tech, 9.5-point favorites against Tech. Both teams going to score a ton of points. I think Oklahoma State's going to cover the spread in this one. They're nasty still on offense, very talented and explosive, and I think that they're going to take this as kind of a step to show everybody that last week's game was not the true Oklahoma State. Central Michigan on the road at Boston College, 7.5-point underdogs. Look for BC to cover the spread. They kind of showed me a little bit last week against Clemson and showed a little moxie and fight. They didn't have the talent to win the game or you know, when it went into the fourth quarter, 7-7. I mean, honestly, did anybody really think Boston College was going to win? No, they didn't. Everybody knew that Clemson would win the game by 3 scores, and that's exactly what happened. But at the same time, they're playing a lot better. Central Michigan is, you know, they've been kind of suspect. They beat Kansas, which is another Power 5 team, if you want to call them that. But I don't think that. I think traveling to Boston College is going to be tough for them. And I look for the Eagles to win this one by about 10 points. The Eagles beat Northern Illinois by 3 points to open up the season, which is also in the MAC conference on the road. And Northern Illinois is better than Central Michigan. So that's what you got to look at. Ohio is on the road at UMass. Let's take the Ohio Bobcats to cover the spread here. They haven't played terrible football this year. They played some pretty tough competition too. 8.5-point favorites at UMass. I'm going to look for them to cover the spread. I think UMass is going to be a little bit worn out after that performance at Tennessee last week. A lot of teams, these teams who have decent performances and look good, look better than they really are because the much better opponent they're playing plays down to their level. The next week, they oftentimes have a come-to-Jesus game, if you want to call it that, where they don't really play that well and reflect their true talent level. I think that Ohio will cover the spread at UMass, win the game by a couple of scores. Couple of oddballs I just threw in here to fill out my last 20, or my last 2 picks out of my 20. Army home game against UTEP. They're 24.5-point favorites. Look for them to cover the spread on this all day long. UTEP is absolutely terrible. They haven't been within 4 touchdowns of anybody all year long. They've gotten blown out. They've played some tough competition. I don't see them getting the job done here at all. They'll go to 0-5. Army, one of the leading rushing teams in the nation, as usual. And UTEP's run defense is terrible. So Army will cover the spread here. I didn't talk about that earlier in the South Carolina Texas A&M matchup either. Texas A&M's a solid running team, and South Carolina's run defense is absolutely horrible. South Carolina's third down defense is terrible also. Very bad, very bad. They can't seem to get off the field. I hate going back to talking about them, but Charlotte on the road at Florida International. They're 12.5-point underdogs to Florida International. I look for them to cover the spread. Last week, Florida International got a road win against Powerhouse Rice, 13-7. Charlotte is absolutely awful. I was reading up about them. They actually made some strides last year. You know, their first year in FCS was 2013, and most of those players were freshmen, and they progressively got better. Well, in 2016, all of them were seniors. So they had a decent year last year. They won like 4 games, like 2 Conference USA games. They took quite a step back this year because they're playing with a bunch of freshmen again. So obviously they didn't reload properly up there at Charlotte, but that's a budding program too, and they'll bounce back and come around eventually, be decent, but not on Saturday. Florida International, the Panthers, Golden Panthers, cover the spread and win by more than 12.5 points. All right, guys, those are my picks and predictions for week number 5 in the college football season. Stay tuned at the beginning of next week to see how many I got right, how many I got wrong, and my picks for week number 6. I'll see y'all later. Peace. And I'm out. Go Cox.